Hi, welcome to another edition of Legal Quilts. I know I said I was going to show you how to quilt the Bargello quilt, do the quilting part, but I'm right in the middle of a commission and I've got that I'm piecing on the machine and I'd have to move all the pieces off, get the machine set up for quilting, for free motion quilting, show you that, then move that out of the way, set the machine back up for regular piecing, and move all those pieces back. That wasn't going to happen. So instead today, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you hand quilting. It's a really great thing. It's portable if you're working with small pieces. You can do it with bigger quilts too, like if you want to just sit and watch TV and quilt at the same time, and I'll show you that in just a second. But this is really portable. It's relaxing. Hand sewing, hand quilting can be really relaxing. Like I said, you can do it while you're watching TV. You can throw it in your tote bag while you're traveling and then work on it as you go. It has its advantages, especially like this is going to be a small project, and that's really, like I said, portable and everything. Nice prelude into Scrap Summer, which kicks off next week. But first, before we get into that, well, now let's do it this way. So what we're going to quilt is, remember when I did the Bargello placemat that I was going to make in kind of ocean theme thing? Well, it kind of came out more square than placemat shaped. So our family's getting a mat. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to quilt today. You just lay it out normal, your top piece, your batting, and then right side down is your backing. I thought that would be really cool backing. It's not really ocean theme, but it kind of looks like it. And you just lay it out like that, leaving edging because in case it shifts. This one I didn't base down because it's so small. Obviously, if you're using a bigger project, either spray baste it, sew it, use pins, whatever, so it stays together, but it's going to shift, and that's why you always leave a little edge around when you lay it out, so that if everything shifts, you're not all of a sudden off the edge and you have to figure out what to do. All right, so you take your things, and then if you're using a bigger quilt, if you're doing a bigger quilt, you can use one of these hoops. This is what I use when I'm watching TV. This is handmade by Barnett's Laptop Quilts. Lovely job. They come in a variety of things. There's a weight you can put down here too to make it a little easier to hold between your legs. But you just put it on your lap. You put the quilt in here and you put it on your lap. And then you can reach underneath a lot easier for the quilting part. But that's too big for today's project. All right, that's for if you're doing a whole quilt that you want to hand quilt. What you need is a hoop. Michael's, Joann's, I think I got this one at Joann's. They come in a variety of sizes, shapes, whatever. All right. You don't want one so big that part of your edges are not going to be caught in the hoop, because then you don't get as tight of a hold on it. And tightness is important. You don't want it stretched super, super tight such that you're ripping out seams and such, but you want it solidly held. All right. So, I'm forgetting how to do this. It's been a minute. You put your bottom one under here. Okay. Start in the center, although on this, that's pretty much just the center. Oops, there we go. I know where I want to quilt. That's why I'm talking to it. All right. Take your top one. You see it's got this little nut thing on it. That's to loosen it up, and you just pull it along there. Okay. And you put it on there. I'm not quite centered. I'm going to have the edge off there. There we go. Okay. Oops, there we go. And you put your top hoop over the bottom one. All right. Ugh. There we go. Nice and firm. Okay. Sometimes it takes a little arguing with it to get it on there. You want to slide it on there. Then you tighten your nut. I know that sounds terrible. Tighten up the nut on there. Just twist it on there tight. Okay, there we go. So you got a nice firm, it's not quite firm. Check the back side, see you got some wrinkles, just pull it because you don't want to quilt any wrinkles in there, okay? Tighten it up a little more. This is really loose on me. You want it tight, tight, tight. Ugh, there we go. So that you get a nice smooth, there we go. Pull it a little bit so it's a little tight. I mean, don't yank on it, but pull it a little bit so it's nice and tight and no wrinkles back there. I'm seeing some wrinkles develop because it's awfully loose. Okay, you don't want wrinkles. Tighten it a little bit more because you don't want wrinkles and you don't want it to be loose, too loose, because if it's too loose, again, you're going to have bulges and looseness. You're going to have bulges and you're going to have wrinkles, and it's just not going to look good. All right, tighten it again. This should do it. All right. Yeah, that's about how you want it. Not quite bounce a quarter off it, but you want it a little tight. You don't want a lot of give when you push on it. If it sinks way deep in the middle, it's way too loose. This is literally as tight as my little fingers will make it. Now then, the rest is kind of just like if you're machine quilting, you got to get your design on there. Now you can use stencils like this where you just draw on all the lines. This is a little big for what I want to do. So I have this other one that's just paper. I've got a cardboard one that's slightly bigger. It's a simple shell because I just want to do, goes with my ocean theme here. Now for this one, you just draw around the outside. You use my purple disappearing pen here. You can use chalk if it was going to go on like darker areas that you want to show up. I would use my yellow chalk, but this is just going to be on light areas, so my purple will show up just fine. In fact, I'm going to move it a little bit. There we go. Kind of center it. There we go. And there we go. I want you all to see it. Center it. See? It's all going to be on the light stuff. And then you just, see if I can do this. Trace around your design. This is the downside to hand quilting, is you don't have all the cool designs, because unless you can make a stencil, you can't just go into your book and copy a design and then print it over. I haven't figured out how to make stencils. I know there's a way on the Cricut. I'm sure there's a way on the Cricut, but I haven't done it. So you just trace all the way around. The good thing about this disappearing ink is it goes away naturally. If it's not quite gone when you're when you're done, you can just take a wet cloth on it. With the chalk, you might have to wash it because chalk doesn't come off quite as well with a wet cloth. It's supposed to, but it doesn't quite. So then you've got your design on there. You can kind of see it. It's a little light. You can kind of see some of the purple here. Okay. It's been wet here, so the ink doesn't show up as well in. And you can go over your design again to darken it up so you can see it. Let me do that really quick. There's some darker parts here, but I know what I'm going to do. There you go. So you can see it a little better now, okay? The wetter it is out with as much moisture, the less the quicker your design fades if you're using the disappearing ink. Keep that in mind, okay? So then you just take your needle and some thread. This is Coats & Clark's Quilting and Piecing. I have some hand quilting thread, specialty thread, that's set aside so it doesn't get mixed up with all my regular stuff because you don't want to send that through the machine. You take your needle and thread. Pick a place where you want to start. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start over here. Outside from your design, put your needle in and then bring it up inside your design. Let me see if you can see that. Might have picked a bad place, okay? There you go. needle's right here. There's the design. There's the needle. There's where I started it. You put a knot in your needle. Whoops, I forgot to do something here. I did put a knot in my needle, but then you've got that tail that's left over after you put the knot. Cut that off pretty close to the knot because you don't want it sticking out, all right? Run your thread through. Don't yank it, but your knot, there you go, gets buried in the batting, okay? So you've run that through. Don't pull it too hard because you don't want your knot coming through. And then just one hand under, one hand on the top. I actually am holding it with one hand, and then you bring your other hand under, and you just straight stitch. You can do decorative stitches if you want, and you're good at them, okay, to make your design a little more interesting. You could do rosettes, you can do couching if you want. If you can do embroidery and you want to get interesting on your stitches, feel free. But that's all you do, just in and out, okay? And you just keep going. I'm trying to do this so you can also see, but well, I know what I'm doing. I tend to get very close when I'm looking. You just follow your design around, all right? And you keep doing that, just in and out. Now, I know some people learn about like getting a bunch of stitches on your needle at once. I've never done that. I just do the in and out, which is a great workout for my hand because I'm going backwards and forward, going top and bottom. You want your stitches to be about the same size, although because it's done hand, it's not going to be exactly uniform. You want your stitches about the same size and the same distance from each other. That's the key to good hand stitching. Again, it's going to be done by hand. We're not perfect. People do things. Okay? And you just keep going all the way around or until you run out of thread, which I will show you in just a second what you do when you run out of thread. All right? And how you finish off when you run out of thread. Okay, give me just 1 second. I want to get to a good spot before I stop it. Again, you just follow it around. Try to get there. All right. One thing I didn't mention, because I lucked out and I put on enough thread to actually finish one whole shell. How much thread do you put on there? It's how much thread do you have on your needle? It's up to you. It's kind of like cooking. A pinch of that, a dash of that. You don't want it so long that it's going to tangle while you're sewing, but you don't want it so short that you're constantly having to redo this. You know, having to cut thread, thread your needle, put the knot in it, and start. Okay? So you'll kind of figure out as you go along. I just do a couple of rolls around and I get a piece about that long, you know, and that seems to work for me. It's what you feel comfortable with. Again, you don't want it so long that your thread you're going to be constantly untangling your thread, but then again, you don't want it so short that again, you're always constantly replacing it. You can run wax on it. I've kind of stopped doing that because the good stuff these days, most of it's coated, and so it goes through nice and smooth anyway, all right? So you've come to the end. I'm back to where I started almost, all right? And we're also pretty near. Here's the beginning. Here's the needle. We're pretty near the end of the thread anyway. So how do you finish when you're near the end of the thread or the end of the design? A couple more stitches here. But when you get to the point where you're about ready to tie it off, you don't make a knot because that would show unless you're doing something fancy like embroidery, and then finish as normal. Okay, you take your needle and just like you did at the beginning, run it out outside your design, or you can do it inside the design, but outside where you were stitching, okay? And you just pull it tight, pull it extra tight, okay? And there's a reason. And then cut it right at the surface, and when you let that tension go, it sucks it back in there, and then the end stays in, and it won't pull out, all right? Now, if you didn't have enough thread and you had to start, you finished up here, just do what you did at the beginning. Thread your needle, put the knot in it, start out, and where you left off, just run your needle in from the outside, bring it up where you left off, and just continue sewing. And that is how you hand sew. So it's really relaxing. I like to, after doing the day job, go out on the deck and do some hand quilting for a little bit in the afternoon just to relax. It's very relaxing, very zen. I haven't been able to do it lately because we've had really, really rainy May. So that's how so that's hand quilting. Next week we kick off Scrap Summer. And I got something really terrific in mind. It's going to be so much fun. So like, subscribe, share. More subscribers are better. Comment. Be nice in the comments. If you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't say it in the comments. Remember, there's no quilt police, so you do what works with you. Doesn't mean everybody else has to do it. If you want to support more videos, you can go to my Ko-fi page. If you want to buy some of my stuff, you can go to the website. And that's it for this edition of Legal Quilts. See you next week for the kickoff.